And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game called Terrible Monster. This is a game in which two players are going back and forth. It's a small two-player game. This is what you call a micro game because it only has 12, 14, 15, 12, 14 counters and 16 cards. That's it. You're trying to summon Godzilla-style monsters to attack your opponent. Here's how it plays. Each player has 4 life tokens. When you lose these life tokens, you lose the game. You also have 2 counter tokens. There is a deck of 16 cards. And so on a player's turn, they're going to play a card and then draw a card. You can't have more than 5 cards. You discard down to them. If you play a card, your opponent can play a counter to cancel that card, although you can then play 2 counter tokens to cancel their counter, which they cannot then counter again. So you only have 2 of these tokens, and you have ways to get more. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get a beast into play. So the cute beast here is one of the ways to win the game. You put this into play, and at the beginning of every turn, it does 1 damage to the opponent. You also have ghostly guardians. If the damage is ever done to you, 2 or more or less, it goes back to your opponent. And then the final monster is the terrible monster, which does 4 damage to your opponent, which, as you can figure out, will win you the game. But this monster cannot be just played from your hand. You can't play this card. So how do you get this card into play? Well, you might use Metamorphosis, which exchanges a terrible monster into a cute beast anywhere. Okay. Summon, choose a monster card in your hand and put it in play. So that's another way to get it into play. Or Reanimation, pick a monster card from the discard pile and put it into your play area. There's also other spells you can play. Pick a card from the deck, put it in your hand, shuffle the deck, get another counter token if you want. Draw 2 cards, discard 2, then you can play an extra card this turn. Do 2 straight damage to your opponent. On this turn, you can play an extra 2 cards. Choose a monster card and play and put it in discard pile. So this is one that can just kill any monster. Name a card if your opponent has this card. He must give it to you. You say, well, how am I supposed to know that? There's a reference sheet that comes with the game that tells you all the cards that are in the game. Pick a card from the discard pile, put it in your hand. Look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it, put it on the discard pile, and draw 3 cards and discard 2. That's it. So you're just going to continue to do this. It's a very, very simple game. You play a card, draw a card, counter back and forth until one player has killed the other person by doing 4 damage to them. Now I have to admit, when I come into a micro game, that I usually come into them with a hefty dose of skepticism. Because I just have a hard time believing you can put a good, solid game into so few cards. It has been done. Love Letter, Mintworks. These are games that show that you can do a lot with a little. My bigger concern is that it feels like many times a game starts and they say, we're going to keep the game as little as possible despite anything else. And that's how this game feels. It feels like it's a small game for the sake of being small, and therefore they cut out a good chunk of the game. In short, I found this game incredibly boring. I do like the artwork. The artwork is really good. I like the theme. I like the name, although Terrible Monster lets me say this game is its name, you know, that sort of thing. It's just that the game is just boring. The cards that you have, draw some cards, get some other cards, discard a card, do this. I put out the monster. Nope, block that. Put out this. I blocked out my token. Nope, I block out my tokens. And I know what they're going for, right? They're going for the whole, oh, do you have this card in your hand? I don't know. When's the right moment to play this card? I'm going to summon the big, ancient, terrible monster now. Nope, I'm canceling that. All right, fine. And then when the draw pile runs out, you shuffle it and you shuffle the discard pile. But it's the same thing over and over and over again. And you say, but that's the point. It's a small little game. Yeah, but a small little game should still be interesting the second time. And when it's not interesting the first time, that's where I run into a problem. I just didn't really have any fun at all. I would sit there and go, oh, I'm going to play this card. I get to play 3 cards this turn. I'm going to play 1. You're going to block that. I'm going to play this. You're going to block that. I'm going to play this. You're going to block that. And, oh, I just, it's hard for me to quantify here what the problem is with this game, but I think it's just that at no point during the game was I like, wow, what a move. Even, you know, getting that terrible monster out. There's only 3 monsters in the game, by the way. It feels like a really, really, really tiny version of Magic with 3 summonable creatures. But even if you get that terrible monster out, which makes you win the game the next time, what if they have the card that cancels it? And then, you know, no, I slaughtered that. I have the card that cancels that monster. What if they have the reflecting monster? Well, that doesn't actually work against the ancient terrible one. What if they have a card that switches that between the baby monster? Well, I also kept that card in my hand. And I know that, again, that's the point of this game, is to make sure that you can either block those cards that are being played or have the cards that will stop the ancient terrible monster. So the goal is to get that one in play, or to play that card that does 2 damage to your opponent. But if you play that and their monster is out, I don't know. It seems like there's 4 things to do in this game. And you do them over and over and over and over again until someone gets the right combo and wins. Not for me. I'm sorry. This is solidifying my thinking that most micro games are not that interesting, because this one falls in that category. Dice Tower Judgment? Nope.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.